EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio in studio in Idaho. Sir, we're honored to have you. Thank you.
It's great to be with you, Kevin. Great to be in Idaho.
What brings you to Idaho, by the way?
Oh, Governor Otter actually came to EPA headquarters last March, and we had a wonderful meeting, and he talked about the importance of cooperative federalism, and that's something that I've been very focused upon, meaning that the states have a very important role to play with the feds as it relates to environmental issues. And the permitting program in Idaho had taken root yet. And the state had been working a number of years to get the permitting program in our Clean Water Act. And we're announcing that today. So the last year we've been working on that with the governor and the state and the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. And this is what should happen. States and the federal government working together to improve air and water quality at the local level, as opposed to this top-down, federal bureaucratic approach that we've seen over the last several years.
As you know, in the West, people are so fearful of the EPA, the BLM, but since the president has come in, brought you in, it's a different game.
Yeah, look, yesterday the president celebrated his 500th day in office, and you look over the last 500 days at the true change that's taken place across the country with respect to the EPA, and you mentioned Interior. No longer are we displacing states. No longer are we displacing private property owners. We understand that this is about partnership. Regulations, we've reduced regulations, over 22 regulations in the first 500 days, $1 billion in savings to the American economy, $1 billion. In Trump administration entirely, $8 billion. So the president has made good on his promise to reduce the regulatory burden on the economy. But here's what's really important, Kevin. Environmental outcomes are improving. Air quality is improved. Water quality is improving. Superfund sites, those sites that are some of the most egregious across the country, are being cleaned up. So we're making progress on the environmental outcomes at the same time that we're reducing the burden, regulatory burden on American citizens.
How do you overcome the overwhelming media narrative? Everything is horrible. The economy is great. Business is fired up. We have this counter narrative, and thankfully the president was elected. Administrator Pruitt, thankfully you're in office to make sure we're getting things put into proper perspective, partnerships instead of dictatorships. Yeah. But how do you fight that every day?
Well, by doing things like this. I hit 35 states across the country, and you're exactly right last year. And you're exactly right. There's optimism all over the country. These kinds of interactions where I meet with stakeholders, governors, but also industry and private property owners. We ended the Waters of the United States rule. We've ended the Clean Power Plan. Though, there's overreaching efforts of the past administration. The president got us out of Paris. There's been such tremendous change that is so different than the past administration, and people are optimistic and I think very much looking forward to the future because of being about jobs and growth, but also good environmental outcomes.
Well, and we talk about the balance between taking care of the environment and taking care of the American people. We go back to how coal was vilified and other industries were vilified under the former administration. How did you spend 8 years under Obama?
Isn't that something, though, yeah, to declare a war on a sector of your economy?
Right.
A war on coal is what the past administration did. I was the first administrator in history, Kevin, to go underground at a coal mine. I was in Pennsylvania within the first month or so of being in office and went 1,000 feet down, 3 miles in, and it was quite something. But I share with those long wall miners in Pennsylvania that the war on coal was over, and you should have seen the emotion in their faces. When you power an electric grid in this country and you eradicate or take away coal, which the past administration endeavored to do, that creates more instability. It creates more cost to consumers across the country. It affects the economy and how it grows. And so the president, recognized that we shouldn't pick winners and losers through regulatory action. The job of a regulator is to make things regular for everyone, not to pick winners and losers in the energy mix. And so that's what's, I think, such a change with this administration, and people see it all over the country.
EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt with us, KIDO Talk Radio, 580 AM, 107.5 FM. We talk about the coal industry, but, sir, you went down into that mine. What was that like? And you have these noble, hardworking Americans doing that every day, and to have war declared on them by the Obama administration.
Well said, and you've spent time in that part of the country, and you know that those blue-collar, hardworking Americans were under assault. Yes. The agency for the last several years has been weaponized, Kevin, against certain sectors of our economy. It wasn't just coal. We saw this in other sectors as well. Natural gas has been added, fossil fuels generally. And what's interesting about all this is that we actually have our CO2 footprint in this country was reduced by almost 20% from the years 2000 to 2014. And we just, recent study, additional percentage, 2%, over the last couple of years. So you see tremendous effort being made. Our pollution that we regulated in the Clean Air Act down almost 75% since the inception of the Clean Air Act. While at the same time, the GDP of this country has grown 270+%. I mean, this is a story that's seldom told. You know, the great work, Americans get it. They're good stewards of the environment, but they want to see jobs and growth. And the president sent a message to Pennsylvania and those kinds of folks in that sector of the economy and said, look, the days of the EPA picking winners and losers, of declaring a war on you, are over. And we're going to make sure we do our business within the statute, within the rule of law, respect process, and engage in cooperative federalism, which is why I'm here in Idaho today.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about Idaho and the West. We feel powerless a lot. We have great representation in Congress, but sometimes the West seems to be forgotten. Not with this administration, not with you, sir.
No, look, think about the Waters of the United States rule. I talked to the governor about that last year. Your senators, I spent time talking to them about it as well. That was not an issue of water quality. It was an issue of power, land use across this country, where dry creek beds and puddles and ephemeral drainage ditches were declared waters in the United States, meaning that for you to use your land, you had to go get permission from the EPA in Washington, D.C. That's just simply wrong, Kevin. And so this president, February of last year, issued an executive order. President Trump said, end that, and we began the process of that within 10 minutes of him issuing that executive order. And here we are in 2018. That Waters of the United States rule will go away. It will restore balance with respect to those issues and issue a new definition that respects the confines of the Clean Water Act, but also, the role of states and private property owners. So that when I think about the West and private property owners and land use and how the BLM and Interior and the EPA over the last several years has tried to take away decision-making rights of folks in this part of the country, this president is returning that and recognizing that they care. I mean, the greatest thing, wealthy countries take care of the environment, Kevin. Private property owners, the greatest asset they have is their land. They want to take care of the water quality of their land. So to not recognize that and then have this very oppressive approach to say we're going to make decisions in your behalf, that's the antithesis of the attitude here in Idaho. It's the opposite of the great western frontier that we know as a country, and we're restoring that commitment.
Two final questions for you. Number one more time, you're in Idaho today to meet with Governor Otter. 500 days of the Trump administration. Time certainly has flown.
It has. It has. And look, great consequential actions for the last 500 days. And there's tremendous change coming even this year. I mentioned the Clean Power Plan. The overreach of the past administration, that's being withdrawn this year. Permitting at the agency, I made a commitment last year that by the end of 2018, Kevin, every permit that we decide upon at the EPA will be done within 6 months. Wow. They didn't even know how long it was taking before we arrived. So we see great changes for a structure and process, rulemaking, cost savings, environmental outcomes to the positive. It's very exciting to be serving at this time.
Boy, you don't catch that in the media. Finally, what's it like to serve the president, to be there, to be a part of this historic administration? You speak with him one-on-one. That's something most of us will never know, sir.
He's very empowering. And what I love about the president's leadership is he's about results. I believe he's in the White House for two primary reasons today. One, he's a man of courage, and two, he's a man of action. And I think the American people want both. They want substantial change. And people in D.C. are obviously distraught because they want the status quo. But under the past administration, they benefited. The rest of the country suffered. And this president is focused upon putting America first and making a change for all Americans, and it's happening right before our eyes.
Sir, we appreciate you coming in today.
Good to see you, Kevin.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be part of your day. I do want to thank the EPA Administrator, Scott Pruitt, for joining us. Honored to have him here with us. By the way, KIDO Talk Radio, the Kevin Miller cash code word is free. That's right. Code 2's word today is free. You can win up to $5,000. Go to KIDOTalkRadio.com for details. Also, don't forget, code 3's word will be during the Sean Hannity show. Let's go to Joby in Meridian with a big announcement today. Good morning, sir.
Top of the morning, Kevin, and good morning, Idaho. Yes, it is very sad news today. Today's my last day in the Church Valley. Pulling out as is going on throughout healthcare. Onward and upward, as they say. So I'm moving to the sunny state of Florida, and hopefully we can stay in contact, and I can be your roving reporter down in that area of the country. That would be wonderful.
So it is with great regret that we accept your resignation from the program and that you're closing the embassy and you're lowering the flag and you're leaving us. It has been such a joy to have you with us. I so appreciate your passion, your commitment, and always being there to help us, sir.
Well, as the Miller Militia is very well aware, that is what we are here to do, is to take care of each other, take care of our community, and support those who need to be supported. I have been super humbled the past 4 years being here in the Treasure Valley with all of the wonderful people that I've worked with, that I've communicated with through the Miller Militia, KIDO 580-1075, yourself, Reverend Bill, Boise Rescue Mission, and lots of folks do, but I try not to as much as I can. The wonderful work that Ray does with you to support all that we do.
Well, back to you. Your thoughts about Idaho. You're a Southerner by birth. You're not going back to Louisiana. You are going to Florida. I don't think you'll be a Gator, but your thoughts on your time in the West and how you'll remember the beautiful mountain people here in the Treasure Valley.
Well, when I came here the first time, actually, I don't know if I told this story before. My wife came, and I came home from work, and she came home and she said, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I met someone that wasn't nice today." And we had been here for 7 weeks. So I think that's a true testament to the way people are here in Idaho, in the Treasure Valley for sure. When you remark on that someone wasn't nice as opposed to trying to find those little spots of sunshine, those spots of sunshine are eminently bright every single day. Folks have a bad day, and we can explain that away, but the folks here are extremely helpful, always willing to lend a hand, and I experienced that with the packing and the moving and the folks who have come around my family. So this is an awesome paradise. And it segues into the point the teaser that I left yesterday. I know we've talked about it a little bit. You know, the license plates coming from the left coast and people getting a little
the liberal invasion of Idaho. Yes,
exactly. You know, so and I'm worried about that too because we live here because we enjoy a more conservative, a more thoughtful, a community. I mean, we talk about that all the time, and that's what we're a piece of. And so guy moved in across the street. He came over and he said, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" He's like, "Excuse the license plate." He was making apologies for being from California. And, I, like you and the rest of us, we'll listen to anybody. We'll talk to anybody. And we'll give our opinions to them and we'll listen to theirs. And he said, "I'm just going to let you know," he said, "the folks who are coming to Idaho are not the folks who want to take all of those liberal thought processes and ways to Idaho. That's not why we're moving here. We're moving here because we realize through experience, these are folks who have traveled here multiple times and made a conscious decision to move here because what we believe and how we live here is what's missing where they're coming from. And they are tired of it. They want to be a piece of a community. They want to be included. They want their thoughts and ideas to be accepted. Not the thought process, but accepted, and they're not there. And so I just want folks to just give a little bit of a pass, at least initially, to the folks that you see with the California license plates. Chit-chat with them. See why they're here. See why they're joining our community because
well, look, first of all, wait a minute. Look, I can't let you go soft here on your last day at KIDO Talk Radio. You got a lot of people from California that are rude, that try and run over people. Now you have a lot of nice people, but in Idaho, the pedestrian has the right of way. I don't know what they do in SoCal or NoCal or GoCal or whatever. We're not California, number one. Number two, I think most people here are friendly, but you got a lot of people coming in that are bringing their California ideals with them, and some of them that live in Boise are the libs.
Well, and I think we've noticed that, and you're correct. And I've noticed that a lot of folks who have license plates outside of Idaho are don't pay as much attention to pedestrians, and we need to watch out for that.
Right.
They need to watch out for that. at least initially. And you know what? Coming from other parts outside of Idaho, when I first got here, it was a little bit of an adjustment for me to realize, hey, wait a minute, Bubba, you don't have to use your horn. Well, and I don't really typically use my horn, but you don't have to use your horn. And you need to look at the road, not your cell phone, your whatever else is going on.
It's how America used to be. Now, Joby, before you go, I have to ask you quickly, your thoughts on the election. What did you think of the governor's race? What did you think of all the other races?
You know, I was a little disheartened that Lieutenant Governor Little got the nomination. I was a little bummed about that, but we will prevail there too. And you know, that's the other piece of that. When you get the candidate that you want, always, or what you think, you're not involved in the process. We need to constantly, whether our candidate is in office or our candidate is not in office, make sure we go out there, make sure you vote, make sure you raise your voice, make sure you get a group together. And I loved hearing about, because I would, you know, come in on the app and the watch parties and the things that Dave and Buster's are doing and the different folks in the community to make sure that folks are staying at least aware of what's happening within the political situation. I think it's kind of funny. The Democratic Party was talking a lot about, I guess for the past, 400 days or so, our not elected president, Hillary, was going out there and bad-mouthing the process and people and her party, and they were telling her, hey, Bubba, shut the ball up because you're going to make it bad for us in November. So my true hope is, like as a lot of us here, that common sense will come back to politics. We will raise our voices. We will stand united because that's the only way we're going to prosper.
Well, old friend, I don't think we'll ever see you again.
Well, if the experiences and the feelings and emotions that I have about leaving hold true, I'll be back. And on my way back, if not personally, definitely through this program, you guys will know when I'm at least back in town, even if it's just for a visit, so we can have a cup of coffee and some celery sticks.
Well, bring the Bojangles if you're coming back.
You got it, brother.
God bless you, my friend. We sorely will miss you, but you have a beautiful family. We love you, and Godspeed, my friend.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. God bless, and bye.
There we have it. We're losing another contributor to the Miller program. Joby heading back to the South, to Florida, and we will miss him. We'll miss his insight, and we so appreciate there are many mornings, and Ray Amaya knows this because Ray Amaya is on the front lines of this. I'd be going, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that in the formative years of this program? And Joby would call in and get things rolling. And we so appreciate you. We so appreciate Joby and his family coming down to Miller's Mission and sharing his family with us. What a beautiful young man and a great family. God bless you, sir. 8:27, Kevin Miller in the morning, traffic and weather together. And you should know better. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Proudly that we say in the Treasure Valley, we love America. Jack Phillips, the baker, on Fox News, talking about his big victory. Let's take a listen.
I got into the bakery business. One of the main reasons is because I love doing wedding cakes. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission took that away from me, and now hopefully we can get back and do the baking that I love.
And by the way, I do want to thank the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Scott Pruitt, for joining us today. He's in town to meet with Governor Otter to talk about the good things going on in the Trump administration. 500 days of American greatness. You're not going to hear that with the libs. You're not going to hear that anywhere else. And why do people who pretend to, represent us always want to make sure the libs get 90% of the coverage? Let's be not fair and balanced, as Sean would say. Let's cheer for the home team, right? Details next. Kevin Miller on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. We like to say KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And if you missed our exclusive interview with EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt in studio, come again at about 10 o'clock. You can check it out at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Don't forget today at 3, your chance to win up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. Win Kevin Miller's money More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Listen for Code 3, the code word of the day, during the Sean Hannity Show. Tea Party Bob joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. I see you're all dressed up this morning for Mr. Pruitt's visit.
Well, this is what I wear every day, as you know.
Okay, if you want to portray that issue, that's okay. That's fine. I know better, though.
Well, you have to have respect for, obviously, the EP administrator is a cabinet-level position. Some have talked about making it, the Secretary of the Environment, that officially, but you are at the cabinet level, and we're doing this for 23, 24 years, 9 years here in the Treasure Valley. That's about the highest administration person that I've ever interviewed. I'm trying to think. Maybe at the White House, but as far as an in-studio appearance, that tops everything.
Well, I'm glad to see that you have the respect that you do, and unfortunately, the Eagles don't. I only have a few words this morning about the Eagles. The liberal media is making it sound like our president is not a patriot, but he is not the one who stayed in the locker room or took a knee when the national anthem was played. That was done by the players of the NFL, and he was perfectly right in just inviting the Eagles to participate in the celebration at the White House. These clowns on the Eagles who refuse to attend this event should be ashamed of themselves and need to remember the men and women who died so they could be playing football in a free country. It's high time that these so-called athletes started respecting not only our national anthem, but the men and women who served to keep America free. And as far as the Supreme Court ruling goes, all I say is let them eat cake.
That's a good one. Before you go, though, at KIDO Talk Radio, 580 AM, 107.5 FM, you go back to what Cindy talked about, and when we take a look at the greatest generation and what they did, and, tomorrow, what is June 6th, right? June 6th, 1944. And the invasion of Normandy, Operation Overlord, and there were so many things that had to go right. Hitler moved most of his troops to other parts of the region, and even then, the Allied invasion almost wasn't successful. And, whether you watch Band of Brothers, whether you read Band of Brothers, so different from the athletes that hate America today. Now, maybe somebody can educate you, Tea Party Bob, or me, but when they say they want to stand for the national anthem and they think that's patriotism, to me, that's just the opposite message they're sending.
Well, I'll bring back something I said last week. If everybody had to do 2 years of service like we did back in the 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s, I think their attitude would change quite dramatically when you spend some time either in a third world country or someplace where your butt is on a line, like on the Korean borders. You get a lot more respect for the people who are out there doing that job. These kids, they don't understand because they've never been exposed to it. They've never had to go out there and do something like this. And I do think that if they had to do it, it would change their attitudes. I mean, I see it, even between my brother and sister who did not serve. They're both liberals. I'm a conservative. I think that those 2 years helped put myself in perspective when it comes to this country and when it comes to understanding what it's all about. I don't think they ever got it. And I'm sorry, but this is something that we need to address and we need to come back and look at again. Unfortunately, most of the kids are going to say, I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't want to do that, why don't you just move and find yourself another place to live?
Well,
that's as simple as that.
I totally agree with you. And here's the other one that gets me is if you've been in a foreign country, if you've had people looking at you and they identify you as Americans and you serve for a greater good, you understand the significance. These guys just seem nothing but more spoiled, pampered athletes that, want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yes, and they want the protection so they can do that. The unfortunate part is that somebody has to serve if they want the protection. So maybe we should give them all 2 years active duty, and then we'll see what happens.
Tea Party Bob, we appreciate you. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
All right, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Two top stories, by the way, talking about the cake shop victory. Jack Phillips appearing earlier today on Fox and Friends.
It was a big win for us, and now we're just looking forward to hopefully getting back into the wedding business, and we'll see how the court ruling affects that.
Well, you can tell this man loves the wedding business and loves baking cakes and loves the magic of the cake. And I know you're thinking, Kevin, why don't we talk about North Korea? Why don't we? The magic of the cake. And little things matter. And you can feel the love in Jack Phillips' heart. So much so that he got out of the cake business because you had a same-sex couple. They said, Jack, you're going to bake our cake no matter what. Jack said, I ain't down with baking your cake. And then all of a sudden you had the Colorado Human Rights Commission going after Jack, being intolerant, religious hostility in America today. And here we have people on the Today Show and others and throughout the media going, well, this isn't a victory. It is 7-2. That's huge. And it says, you can't make Jack Phillips bake a cake. You can't make him do something against his religion. And whether I agree with your faith or not, I respect your faith. And the secularists and others, they need to start reciprocating that respect. Because the Supreme Court, 7-2, has no love for making people do something against their will. And with all due respect to the same-sex couple, why would you, if you're all about love and tolerance and everything else, a rhetorical question at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, why would you want someone to bake a cake based on your union if they're not down with your love? It's like you go to a restaurant or you go to a car place and the person there is a jerk. They're a clown. They're a nincompoop. They're a slappy. And a wedding cake is a commitment. Going to a place where you have bad service or whatever, you don't have to go there. You don't want to be a part of it. You have a choice. Why would these folks and the Colorado Commission on Human Rights want to run this guy out of business? Is that their message?
I got into the bakery business. One of the main reasons is because I love doing wedding cakes. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission took that away from me, and now hopefully we can get back and do the baking that I love.
You know, and people are saying, well, it doesn't mean anything. This is a big win. And remember, at the Supreme Court, we haven't had a lot of big wins. We didn't have a big win 2 years ago about gay marriage. We didn't have a big win about Obamacare. We've been betrayed by the Supreme Court. Maybe this is a sign that the tide is turning. Right? On another case, we've been talking about the President of the United States. First of all, I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat my Patriots. Second of all, they're unpatriotic. Let's explain, John Decker.
The president on Twitter writing the Philadelphia Eagles football team was invited to the White House. Unfortunately, only a small number of players decided to come, and we canceled the event. He continued, staying in the locker room for the playing of our national anthem is as disrespectful to our country as kneeling. Sorry, he wrote. Philadelphia's Mayor Jim Kenney slammed President Trump as not a true patriot and a fragile egomaniac for disinviting the team. The president announcing on Twitter, we will proudly be playing the national anthem and other wonderful music celebrating our country today at 3 p.m. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
And there we have it. You don't want to love America? You're not down with America? You have an issue with America? Then you don't have to come. You know, it's kind of like, I don't want to say the company Christmas party or a formal setting. The Eagles decided they were going to be disruptive. The Eagles decided they were going to disrespect America. The Eagles decided that, well, we don't like Trump. For what? Because Trump says you should stand for the national anthem? Right. I love this, where you have the NFL Players Association saying, well, we're going to support our troops. What do? They live in their big mansions. They whine, cry, and complain, and they don't do anything else. So, really, what do? And the president says, we're going to have a great ceremony. You can choose to be a part of it, but if you're not, we drive on. And I think this is a good thing. No, I know it's a good thing. Your thoughts? Maybe you like the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe you hate the New England Patriots. Maybe you believe that patriotism is truly showing your disrespect for America. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Ray and I appreciate you as always. Great job. Do want to thank the administration for allowing us to have EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt in studio. If you missed that interview, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. After 10 a.m. today, Ray always gets those up before the national programs, before anybody else. And we would love for you to check out that interview. Like I said, it's very rare, regardless of where you live, to have a cabinet-level person, not only on the air. I mean, Lars Larson does it all the time. That's because he's Lars Larson. However, to have them in studio is very rare, so we appreciate the folks in Washington having Administrator Pruitt come out and speak with us. By the way, have you heard about this? Another sign that the apocalypse is upon us. And I report this story with great hesitation, great neglect. Are you a fan of beauty pageants at all? You know, when's the last time you watched the Miss America pageant? Well, this just in. The Miss America pageant, by the way, thank you to the Me Too movement, will no longer hold a swimsuit portion of the competition. They announced that today. Without the swimsuit segment, contestants will no longer be judged on their looks. Can somebody help me with this? Now, remember that song, There She Goes, Miss America? So, let me, again, so when you look at Miss America, and let me apologize in advance for the following statement, you think, but again, they're going to replace the swimsuit modeling with live interaction between the judges and the state title holders. Wow. That's going to be compelling. Gretchen Carlson, a former winner, and you remember her from Fox News and everything else, we are no longer a pageant, she declared. We are a competition. Now, out with the swimsuits, there will no longer be an evening gown portion, and instead the contestants will wear an outfit that represents their style. Well, okay, let me again apologize in advance for sounding chauvinistic or whatever. What's next, burlap sacks? Miss America, no swimsuits, no anything else. Can somebody tell me the what is wrong with, people wearing swimsuits, people wearing evening gowns, with people being feminine? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Apparently, out with the, I don't know, I mean, they've had trouble with viewers before, but are you kidding me that this is going to happen? Are you kidding me that they've decided to get rid of evening gowns and swimsuits? Now, perhaps you're going to say, well, Kevin Miller, Miss America, isn't that relevant anymore? I don't know about that. Tell that to the troops. Tell that to other people that have seen the competition and everything else. And we have the Miss Idaho pageant. We have the Miss this, the Miss that pageant. And now all of a sudden, no swimsuit, because swimsuits, apparently like the national anthem, are evil, number one. And number two, no evening gowns. It's going to be a competition based on what? Juggling? Based on what? Everything else? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Pardon me. Let's get to work safely and on time. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. So we've got a few topics to talk about at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And by the way, have you noticed anything else here? Is Hollywood going overboard with the glut of gender swap remakes? Instead of George Clooney, isn't it Sandra Bernhardt now with Ocean's 8, where it's all women? Now we have Miss America getting rid of the swimsuits. Is there any good news this morning? Well, okay, here we go with being very different. And I want to thank Ray Amaya for bringing this up. So we've got Boise State. And, everybody in the Treasure Valley, they always say stuff about Boise State. That's the popular thing. You want to be popular in the Treasure Valley, become a Bronco. and let's face it, they've done incredibly well, and they should be commended. Although, on the other fact, there's another side of the blue. There's the business side of Boise State. And the business side of Boise State is, for years, season ticket holders have had to bear the burden of a pretty lousy home schedule. I mean, as we've said with the departure of Gene Blameyer, because departing President Bob Custer fired him because of these silly things from the NCAA, that, you don't have Oregon at home anymore. How many years ago was it when Washington was here? Here you get Troy. Now, I like the Troy Trojans, but, they're not a big draw like Oregon or Wazoo or Washington or what have you. And you see that schedule diminishing. So now they've come out with a ticket program where they call it the blue collar thing, and everybody's hailing it. Oh, it's the blue collar thing. And really what it is an admission by Boise State that they're jacking up of the ticket prices. And there will not be anyone else in the Treasure Valley that says this. But their admission that they jacked up the ticket prices, that they can't draw for a really winning team at home, that they've come up with this concept that you can buy a ticket. Now, we're not going to tell you where it is until 48 hours before the game, and it could be a good ticket, right? So, in other words, if the game is sold out, you're up in the nosebleed section. But the games are never sold out, so they're going to be down closer to the field. And, if you buy a family packet, they're going to do their very best to make sure that you're in there. But how many quote-unquote blue-collar people can afford to go to a football game? How many blue-collar people can afford to go on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock? Hey, everybody, this is great. It's all, and this is something that we personally work on with this show. You might have heard Mike Miniger earlier talking about his attachment to what we believe in. And this is what we do to try and represent our community. And that's really where the Broncos, if they want to get people in there, instead of coming up with unique or quirky or zany or zippity marketing gimmicks, should really go back to the days of Coach Pete, where you're a blue-collar team, and you don't have to call yourself blue-collars. As I've said before, you want to put people in the stands, lower the prices of tickets. Don't put some crazy, wacky, zany DJ on and go, hey, everybody, we're going to have DJ Zip Zam Zoom. Go back to what people want, a good value, a great experience for their entertainment dollar. Now, again, you're going to have the happy talk trade press that are just going to, permeate these comments. Again, press release journalism. This show's based on opinion. Sometimes you agree with me, sometimes you don't. I'm not bashing the program. I'm just saying that they've got an issue with the tickets, and if they really want to appeal to blue-collar people, maybe they should have blue-collar prices instead of blue-collar marketing gimmicks. But again, you're not going to hear that from anybody else. And whoopee, Kevin, you said something that cost you your job. It wouldn't be the first time. Again, we're supporting of people, but come on, blue-collar, really? Kevin Miller in the morning. Do appreciate you listening. Ray and I, great job as always. Do want to thank our friend Melissa Rogers for joining us for the YouTube video you'll see with Scott Pruitt coming up next. Yes, that's right. Scott Pruitt, available at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Good day. God bless. Keep the faith.